Fox News has obtained brand new video showing heavily armed men smuggling a Guatemalan mother and son into the United States. You can see the human traffickers here in full tactical gear, carrying long guns and AK-47 assault rifles. This is what's really going on at the border. The video is terrifying and could be the start of the new norm. This coming just 24 hours after we brought you the story of Mexican troops disarming U.S. soldiers on the United States side of the border. Obama's former Border Patrol chief, Mark Morgan, said last night on this show that those troops could have actually been armed traffickers.
I'm not sure 100% these were actually Mexican government officials. From my experiences, I would suggest that they were there possibly supporting the Mexican cartels. I think you could make that a logical assumption, and it wouldn't be too far off base.
Yeah, no crisis at the border. Joining me now is Brandon Judd. He's the National Border Patrol Council President, and Francisco Hernandez, who's an immigration attorney, has been on the show with me several times before. Gentlemen, thank you both for being here. Brandon, for your expertise, decades with the Border Patrol, what's been your experience? We're seeing video that's shocking to those of us that don't live and see what's going on the border every day, but what's your read on the situation with the U.S. soldiers being disarmed and then the video that we're seeing of this person coming across the border?
And Jason, I personally have experience dealing with Mexican military. I personally have experience dealing with Mexican police, where they have come up to the border, they have distracted me and my partners while they've run drugs right behind us. That happened in El Centro, California one time, and it happened in Naco, Arizona on one occasion. So we know that these people, they run diversion tactics for the cartels. They smuggle right behind us when they are able to divert us. And now we're seeing armed bandits coming up, and these aren't just sidearms that they're carrying. These are AK-47s. These are long arms. These are very dangerous individuals, and frankly, it's liberal policies that are putting these people in the hands of these dangerous criminals.
Now, when you see that video, Francisco, they're coming up with, they got masks on because I think they know that the Americans actually have video surveillance on them, and they don't want to be identified. But there's also not a wall. And you've been on this show before. You're one of the ones that has, we don't need a wall, but that's how they walk across the border. Now, these people were detained by the Border Patrol, but why should they have to put up with that crap?
Okay, well, the wall would not have stopped them. They would have found another place to go through. That's the point we're trying to make. What's the wall going to do? Guys, if there is a crisis at the border,
not allow them to walk across the border?
Look, if we had military there and they still got through, why did we get disarmed? I mean, how does that happen? A wall would have stopped it? It would not. What we're failing to see is what's hidden in plain sight. The crisis at the border are these cartels that, quite frankly, are smuggling, just as Brandon says. The caravans, what they're doing is they're forcing us to devote resources to take care of people that are fleeing from their countries, their governments, and these cartels to try to come up here. And we're demonizing these folks that are trying to escape that exact danger. And now our military is folding. I find that very hard to believe. In fact, I refuse to believe
there's a lot to unpack there. Brandon, you've actually been on the border as a Border Patrol agent. Come on. You don't think the wall would actually help?
Walls in strategic locations will absolutely stop these smuggling organizations, because then we are allowed to dictate where this type of action takes place. If we force these people to go through ports of entry, they no longer have to be in the smugglers' hands. And that's what walls will allow us to do. They will allow us to force these people to go through ports of entry, present themselves legally instead of entering the country illegally. Walls absolutely work. They work every single place that we put them up.
We would not even let them in a legal port of entry. What you're saying is that a wall is stronger than our military, that these masked gunmen disarmed our military on our side of the border? Is that what we're ready to admit to justify building a wall? Come on, guys. I'm not going to admit that.
We have to consider that. We have to consider that. If the Mexican military is allowed to come into the United States and disarm, and they came in numbers, they had force on their side, and they're able to disarm our National Guardsmen, a wall would have stopped that. They wouldn't have been able to do that had we have had a wall in that specific location. And this idea that they didn't...
Gentlemen, I got to move on to this next thing.